How are you?
Good morning, Rod. Great to see you.
Good. I'm glad
Kind
to
of
be
old
here.
stomping grounds here in Boston.
Yeah, when I was in the Navy, I was about 8 months. I was stationed out by Squantum Naval Air Base. I wanted to go out and see it, but now I hear it's just a marina and condominiums.
Things change, don't they?
I guess so.
You have stories about Scully Square and...
Well, Scully Square, we used to hang out in Scully. I can't tell you the true stories
No,
of Scully
don't.
Square.
No, of course
Or
not.
little famous places like the Silver Dollar Bar, where the Marines and the Navy used to try to find out who was the strongest at night by beating each other's brains out. Tremont Street, the Hotel Tremont. I won't go into that either, but I remember the Hotel
come
Tremont.
on.
Those were I was only 17, you know. I was examining and exploring.
You still are. I read about you saying that you want it all hot, from food to your love life to everything.
Yeah.
You want that in life, don't you?
Well, I like adventure and I like challenge. I mean, that's what I try to do with my career, and I like to have that kind of excitement, you know. I'm probably one of these idiot people who go, you know, I'm not manic depressive, but I'm close to something like that. But I'm used to, in acting, a public profession, you know as well as I do, in the public profession, when you perform, you're on some kind of a high. Your energy and your juices flow a little differently than they do in an ordinary job, perhaps. So I think a performer, if he gets lucky and begins to get the audiences of the world acknowledging him at the moment they see him work, there's a rush. You get like a rush. To me, I always say that it's the narcotics of acting. When you have one good moment in acting, which lasts for about a split second, that's the beginning of being addicted to something healthy for a change.
You also have said, and I know I'm paraphrasing probably badly, but it's like a terrific rush of life and then sudden death.
Well, the moment you discover something on the stage or in a film, it dies. That's the terrible thing about acting. Then the problem is that you have to, if you're doing a play and you have to recreate that moment the next day, you, if you're any good, know you're not supposed to imitate what you did the night before. And if you're honest with yourself, it makes it a bit difficult but worthwhile.
If not for one female director who directed a play that you were in, part of a social club, your first job, and you're making $27 a week, I guess,
Yeah.
after the Navy. If it were not for her encouragement, you would not have probably picked this profession.
It was
Is
the
that true?
women. Again, the women who got me in trouble. Oh, yes. No, what happened was we were looking around on Thursdays. We used to check in the office. What happens on Thursday? Every beautiful or attractive girl you ask for a date, they say, I'm busy Thursday night, I'm busy Thursday. So we compared notes and found out that they had organized a theater group. So we all joined the theater group to get lucky with the girls. And then I did 2 little plays with them, and then the woman said I should take it serious. I didn't believe it. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. You put the garbage out, you wash the dishes, 25 cents your mother gave you, and you went to the movies. But I never thought I'd try to be one of the golden people. That's what I used to think. So I said, I can't do that. I don't have, you know, I haven't got the education. She said, how long are you in the Navy? I said, well, I was in the Navy almost 5 years. She said, well, you got the GI Bill of Rights. The government will pay for the school. So I went, and then a strange thing happened. In 2 months, I fell in love with it. I became a fanatic about it. And it saved my life. I am not the type of personality that can have a job that's regimented. I can't do that. You know, I would be a nasty drunk being thrown out of Scully Square Bar on Saturday nights. And
You need the variation and you need the intensity, don't you?
yeah, I love it. Well, that's part of the narcotics I was talking about. I love it, yeah.
You're on your way to, I guess, a benefit, a tribute for
Yeah,
Sidney
we're going to
Poitier?
be, I think it's called, I'll probably not get this right, the American Museum of the Moving Image in New York is giving a tribute to Mr. Sidney Poitier, and I'm going to go down and be one of the people there who are showing his respect.
You must respect him. I mean, only in that I know the observation is you care so intensely, passionately about your craft. He does too, whether he's directing or acting.
Oh, yeah. He's
Working together in the heat of the night, that must have been some set.
Well, we had a very good time. I'm always amazed by...
Rod, excuse me, forgive me.
Sure.
We have to cut away to ABC
Sure.
Network. We will come back and finish
Okey-doke.
this. We're sorry. Okay, here we go. We join the network.
Good morning. I'm Paula Zahn reporting from Washington this morning. We have just received word from military sources. A 10 to 30-foot hole has ripped open a United Airlines 747 flying at an altitude of 28,000 feet over Hawaii. It is believed 5 to 6 people on board are unaccounted for. The jet was bound for New Zealand, but has now made an emergency landing in Honolulu. There is one report coming from the Honolulu Department of Transportation that says there may have been a bomb on board. The FAA at this point is only saying the pilot reported a loss of power in one engine and failed to gain power in another. There is no immediate indication how many passengers and crew were aboard that jet. Once again, it's a 747. They are now looking at the jet right now. There's a 10 to 30-foot hole in the fuselage of the plane. 5 to 6 people on board and accounted for. The plane eventually did land safely. That's all we have for you right now. We will update the story for you as more information becomes available.
This special report has come to you from ABC News in Washington. We now resume our regular program schedule.
Well, we all agree that's an incredibly disturbing story, and I'm sorry.
I don't know. I like the system where you go on the plane. Before you can go on, they line your baggage up alongside the plane, and you have to come and show them that's your bag. So, you know, they did that in Ireland and places like that. There's less chance of somebody going on a plane with a bag that's going to work.
I think that's becoming kind of standard operating procedure, but
I
that's
hope so.
so disturbing. I mean, you must have feelings about the state of the world. As an actor, you care very much about the audience, about people
Well, I have,
and issues.
Yeah, I have peculiar feelings. Like when I went to Ireland, you know, I was talking about going visiting a friend of mine who just directed a picture I did called The January Man with him. And I must say, my insane mind, the thought went through my mind. Somebody wants to get a certain group, a protest group in the headlines, they could knock off a so-called movie star and they'd get in the papers, you know. So that kind of strange thing goes through your mind sometimes. And the tension, I remember in the early days in Berlin with the Berlin Wall, there's a tension in Berlin still exists today. And it's just most unfortunate.
You went through your own kind of tension in this industry. Weren't you blacklisted for a time in the 50s?
Oh, only a short time, about 3 months, yeah.
Were you one of the lucky ones? You failed to sign
Well,
a
I
loyal-
was lucky. I had friends of mine who weren't communists, but they were liberal. I like to, by the way, say to President Bush that a liberal, if you look at the dictionary, is much different than being a communist. I wish he'd get that in his head. I was very irritated with that.
Were you?
Well, progressive people, the Puritans were people who were liberal, trying to find freedom for their religion. If you're going to condemn the liberals, then condemn the Puritans. Take away Plymouth Rock. I don't like that. Anyway, that's enough of my preaching today. Now, what was your question?
Back to being blackballed.
Back to being black.
You failed to sign a loyalty oath. What did that mean?
It means I was blackballed for a while. And
Well, loyalty oath to who? To America?
off CBS. CBS had a loyalty oath or something like that. I had friends of mine who were progressives who weren't communist at all, but they couldn't work. One man committed suicide, another dropped dead driving a taxi cab. You know, this is the cheerful hour, folks.
You know, well, we'll move on, but it's a tough story to come off of when you hear something like that on the network. One of my favorite films, I think my favorite film that I've ever seen is The Pawnbroker. You have an ability to so move an audience and to get anyone watching so involved in the character. You work hard at that, don't you?
Well, it's my life, you know. It's not a job to me. Acting is my life. Unfortunately, I think I participate more fully in my professional life than I do in my personal life, which must have a lot to do with me getting periods of terrible depression. Yes, I'm not very proud. I'm proud that I work hard, and I'm proud that people appreciate it, and I'm proud that people like me, I hope. But I wish I was a little more intimate in my personal life and not so intimate in my professional life.
You mean relationships?
Yeah, I grew up since I was 12 by myself, more or less, so I got kind of streetwise. I'm not as jaunty jolly as I appear.
You never knew your dad, did you, Rod?
No, I never knew my father. I've had all sorts of rumors about my father, and over my life I've had pictures sent in saying, "This is your father, please contact me." But by that time I was in my 40s, and my attitude was blood is not thicker than water. If my father walked on the studio in the program now and said, "I'm your father," I don't know if I'd smack him in the mouth because he wasn't around when I need him, or I just burst into tears and we'd embrace each other.
I guess you never know how you'll react in that situation.
No.
Your stepfather was good to you?
I had a great stepfather.
Yeah. He was there, wasn't he? He was there.
Yeah. Yeah, never hit me, never did anything like that.
Talk about your wife. She's not been to Boston before,
Paula?
I understand. Yeah,
Oh,
Paula.
she's watching me now. Hi there.
Hi, Paula.
Anyway, hi. Anyway, Paula is wonderful. She saved my life.
How?
Well, she sat for 4 years and watched the man come downstairs and say good morning, and the next thing he said was good night. And he sat there on the couch staring ahead, doing nothing. And, you know, she never once... It's hard to see somebody you love deteriorated. And you get angry because you feel like they're failing you, or you can't get to them and you're failing them. And she never once said, "For God's sake, you know, say something. Don't just sit there like you could do." She'd get a little nervous and go into the valley to see her girlfriends, but she never took it out on me, and I love her for that.
Was this following your bypass, your
I
surgery?
beg your pardon?
Was this following your surgery?
Yeah, I went into depression after my bypass. Yeah.
What a lot of people do.
Yeah, it says I call people now on the telephone. People ask me to call relatives of theirs, and I call up and say, listen, this is Rod Steige, I don't know what it means to you. It shouldn't mean anything, it's up to you. But I had a bypass, and be careful, because about a month or two later, you'll begin to get a period of self-grieving, I call it, where you feel, you're really feeling so sorry. Well, first of all, you're angry. You say, listen, God, I am special. You die and everybody in this studio dies, but not me. Isn't that the deal we had? What am I doing in the hospital with my chest cut open? I don't like this. What is this? Right. Then you get into a period of self-pity. What have they done to me? Why am I the one? Why doesn't the people out there, you know?
What turns it around?
Love from my wife, going to see a therapist, and pills. I have a chemical imbalance. I have to take a minimum amount of pills every night, whether I like it or not. I went into a detox center to get rid of a lot of stuff, and they took the pills away, and I figured, well, good, I can get through this. And they came flying back in 3 days later and said, here's your pills. You have a chemical imbalance. It's a working of nature. It's got nothing to do with anything else. You have to have certain chemicals, you know. So that's when I was convinced that I did have that.
Well, but life's good for you now, and you're happy.
My life
now,
is wonderful for me now. I'm working again. I'm out of my depression, you know. I'm a bit upset because I feel like an idiot at the moment talking about my life when other people just lost theirs in an airplane crash. It's a very awkward situation. I've never had it before. It's an awkward
business, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
really I wish the people and their relatives on that flight the assistance of God, and I wish them well.
That's nice. Thank you, Rod, very much. It's been such a pleasure to
Thank
talk with you. And I'm sorry for the interruption.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry there was such a kind of thing happened to people.
So am I sorry for that. Thank you.